My name is Luna, and I've been married to Lucas for 3 years. We used to live alone when we were dating. But after we got married, we moved in with Lucas's dad because his job was nearby. Even after we got married, I kept working. But I had to quit my job because Lucas's dad needed help. He started having memory problems about a year and a half ago, and it got worse over time, so he needed someone to take care of him. At first, we thought about sending him to a nursing home, but Lucas really didn't want to. He asked me to take care of his dad at home, so I agreed. Luna, please, let's try to take care of my dad here. I don't want him to go to a nursing home, Lucas begged. I understood how he felt, but it was a big responsibility for me, and I wasn't sure if his dad wanted me to take care of him that much. So I asked Lucas to help me as much as he could. I had never seen Lucas beg like that before, so I thought he would support me. But taking care of his dad turned out to be harder than I thought. His dad needed help with simple things like walking, using the bathroom, and taking a bath. He could still move around, but he often tripped and fell because he couldn't support himself. So Lucas and I decided to change our house to make it safer for his dad. Even though we were still paying off debts, we realized that his dad's safety was more important. At first, Lucas helped a lot with taking care of his dad. But as time went on, he started saying he was too busy with work to help. And after about a year of taking care of his dad, he stopped helping altogether. He even started going out on his days off instead of helping me. My father-in-law's health was declining, and he needed more help with basic things like using the bathroom and taking a bath. It became too much for me to handle on my own, so I talked to my husband about it. You promised to help, didn't you? When was the last time you actually helped out? It's been months, I said to him. He needs more care than I can give him alone. I'm feeling overwhelmed, I added. I think we should seriously consider putting him in a nursing home instead of trying to take care of him at home, I suggested. We agreed to take care of him at home until the end, but at least we should consider getting professional caregivers involved. Your dad needs more help than we can give him alone, and there are people who are trained to do this. I'm not strong enough to handle everything, especially tasks like bathing, I explained. But my husband didn't agree with me. He got upset and left before we could finish talking. Lately, I've noticed he's been stressed about money. However, I couldn't keep taking care of his dad on my own. So even without my husband's approval, I started arranging for home care services. His dad was assessed as needing a high level of care, so we arranged for a caregiver to come 5 times a week for about an hour each day. We also made a plan with our long-term care insurance, so I wasn't worried about the cost. But we hit a snag on the first day of home care services. Hi, I'm Mira, your caregiver. I'm here to help you from now on, she said. Nice to meet you, Mira. I'm looking forward to working with you, I replied. While the caregiver was talking to my father-in-law, she also taught me some nursing techniques. I found her guidance really helpful and felt confident about hiring her. But when my husband came home and saw her, he got really angry. Luna, I never agreed to home care services. What's going on? He yelled at me. But I've been telling you that I can't do this all by myself anymore. I didn't do this without telling you. I'm sorry, Miss Caregiver, but please go home for today. I tried to explain, but he didn't want to listen and sent the caregiver away. Why did you arrange for home care without my permission? I'm the one who decides things around here. You're a terrible wife for not listening to me. You can handle caregiving alone. Don't waste money, especially since we still have to pay off the loan for the renovation. Why can't you see what I'm saying? I've told you many times that I can't do this all by myself, Lucas. You've stopped helping with caregiving, haven't you? That's not keeping your promise. And the renovation was necessary for safety. If your dad falls and gets hurt, taking care of him will be even harder. You might not get it because you haven't been doing any caregiving for over a year now. Why are you bringing this up all of a sudden? Besides, you're not working, so it's your job to take care of him, right? Who do you think is paying off the loan for that renovation? No matter how much I tried to explain, my husband didn't understand. He really believes that I should do everything by myself. After that, I only had the caregiver come when my husband was at work. Talking to her about not just caregiving, but also the issues with my husband and getting advice was really helpful. After months of the same routine, one day my husband unexpectedly offered to take care of his dad himself. You've been cooped up for over a year. Go treat yourself. I'll handle everything today, he said. I happily accepted his offer. I got a long overdue haircut and enjoyed some time at a coffee shop I used to frequent. But after about 4 hours, I started feeling anxious about leaving my inexperienced husband in charge, so I decided to head home early. When I got back, the house was unusually quiet. My father-in-law was peacefully asleep in his room. Assuming my husband had also worn himself out and fallen asleep, I went to check the bedroom, but he wasn't there. As I sat in a quiet house, I noticed an envelope placed on the dining table. When I opened the envelope, I found divorce papers already filled out along with a letter. The letter took me completely by surprise. Even after we divorce, please continue taking care of my dad. I'm going on a trip for a week, so please file the divorce papers. As I read those words, it hit me. His sudden offer to take care of his dad was just a way to get me out of the house so he could prepare for his trip. And the fact that he had already prepared divorce papers was a shock. What's more, he expected me to continue caring for his dad even after we split up. I couldn't comprehend his thinking at all, so I called him immediately. When I read the letter, I found the divorce papers. What's going on? Who are you going on a trip with? I'm at the airport about to board. I'm busy, and frankly, I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter who I travel with. We're getting divorced. Just make sure those papers are filed by the time I get back from my trip. That's all. With those words, my husband abruptly ended the call and hung up. Just before the line went dead, I heard a woman's voice calling out his name on the other end. It became clear that he was with someone else, the person he was traveling with. We'd only been married again for 3 years, and now I was facing the possibility that he was having an affair. As I thought about how he might have been cheating on me while I was busy taking care of his dad, tears of regret filled my eyes. Luna, my father-in-law's voice called out to me as I left. He had been struggling to remember my name lately, but today he said it clearly. Worried about how well my husband had taken care of him while I was away, I hurried to see him. Father, are you feeling all right? Did everything go smoothly while I was out? I asked, concerned for his well-being. Luna, is the caregiver coming today? My father-in-law seemed surprisingly lucid and able to hold a conversation. No, she won't be here until tomorrow morning, I replied. Ah, I see. Could you bring me some paper and a pen? He requested. My father-in-law, who usually struggled with writing due to his condition, seemed different today, more refined. I remembered reading that writing could help with dementia symptoms, so I agreed and fetched him some paper and a pen. He began writing something, but I couldn't see what it was. After he finished, he placed the paper in an envelope and handed it to me. Give this to the caregiver when she comes tomorrow, he said before drifting back to sleep. Was this some sort of dementia exercise with Mila? Although I was curious about the letter's contents, I decided not to peek. Later, when my father-in-law woke up, he seemed to have forgotten everything, even my name. It left me wondering what had happened. That night, after he had gone to bed, I found myself pondering over the letter and divorce papers again. Reflecting on my husband's recent actions, I began to realize there might have been signs of something suspicious. I had been so focused on caregiving that I hadn't paid attention to him. If he was indeed cheating, part of me wanted to divorce him immediately and leave. But I couldn't abandon my father-in-law. Besides, without a job while taking care of him, I worried about supporting myself after a divorce. As morning arrived, I still hadn't made a decision. Mira came by, and I handed her the letter from my father-in-law. After reading it, she approached me looking troubled. And then, the caregiver. I'm here to support you, Luna. We've built a friendship, and moments like these are more common than you might think. I'm here for you, Mira reassured me with a kind smile. The letter is about me getting a divorce? I asked, feeling confused. Yes, it seems Mr. Henry noticed something wasn't right and asked me to step in. He wrote in the letter about his wishes regarding his estate. There's more to it, but we can discuss that later. Since your husband will be back soon, let's act quickly, Mira suggested. With that, Mira arranged for another caregiver to take over Mr. Henry's care and urged me to follow her. We ended up at a law firm. Mira, why are we here? I asked, puzzled. You'll understand once we're inside, Mira replied cryptically. Even though I was still confused, I followed Mira into the building. Thank you for coming today. I'd like to discuss a request I received from Mr. Henley regarding gifting property during one's lifetime. Specifically to you, Luna, the lawyer explained as we took our seats. The lawyer handed me a document and said, yes, it's notarized. Mr. Henley requested this document prepared by Mira. It states that Mr. Henley wishes to give you $36,000 and his apartment during his lifetime. Stunned by this revelation, Mira started to explain. On the first day of my home visit, Mr. Henley mentioned this. He wanted to express his gratitude to you, Luna. However, as you weren't legally adopted by him, he couldn't pass on his assets to you through inheritance. So he decided to make this gift during his lifetime. I'm incredibly grateful. I need to thank my father-in-law right away, I said, feeling overwhelmed with emotion. Before we head back, there's one more place we need to stop by, Mira said, leading me out of the law firm. We made another quick stop before finally returning home. Once we were back, I expressed my heartfelt gratitude to my father-in-law, even though he didn't seem to fully understand. I kept telling him how thankful I was. Sadly, 3 days later, he passed away due to complications from his worsening dementia. I tried calling my husband, who was still traveling abroad, but he didn't pick up, perhaps assuming it was about the divorce. There's no other option, Mira said, guiding me through the necessary arrangements. As we gathered with relatives to make preparations, my husband's absence, being the biological son of my father-in-law, was a point of contention for some. 2 days later, my husband returned home, completely unaware of what had transpired. He was immediately bombarded with questions from all sides. Hey, help me out here. I swear I'm not cheating. I was just taking a vacation to unwind after being a caregiver every day, my husband protested. You can't lie twice. Even if you claim you were caregiving, there's no evidence to support that, I countered. I know for a fact that you went on that vacation with your mistress. Security cameras at the airport caught you two acting like lovers, I added firmly. With that revelation, my husband seemed to resign himself to the judgmental stares from the relatives. Several days later, once the tension had eased, I proceeded to file for divorce. I planned to move into the apartment my father-in-law had gifted me before his passing. As I made preparations for the move, my husband called. Luna, where are you? I just found out that I'm not the beneficiary of his life insurance, you are. All I was supposed to get was his life insurance. What are you going to do about this? He demanded. What did you tell my dad while you were taking care of him? You and that female caregiver must have conspired together. You two planned this, he accused angrily. It was your father's wish. Mira and I only followed his instructions, I explained calmly. Well, we're divorced now, and you and your mistress will be hearing from my lawyer soon. Make sure to pay up for the compensation, I added firmly. What do you mean we're divorced? Besides, since you got my dad's life insurance, you can consider it as your consolation money, right? So I don't owe you anything, my husband retorted arrogantly. It seemed he had forgotten that he had left me the divorce papers to file before he left for his trip. I was surprised by his callous attitude. The divorce papers were left by you with a letter asking me to submit them, weren't they? And the life insurance is a precious inheritance from your father, not something I received from you. So you should cover the compensation, I insisted firmly. My husband was speechless at my words, unable to respond. We realized we weren't making any progress and decided to end the call. He continued to call several times afterward, but following Mira's advice, I changed my phone number. I still see Mira occasionally. Even after my father-in-law passed away, she did more for both him and me than my own family, including my husband. I'm truly grateful to her. Eventually, it seemed that the truth reached my husband and his mistress, and I received a call from their lawyer. Lucas told me you were the one in charge, even though I didn't know the full story. I'm sincerely sorry for going on that trip while Lucas's father was struggling. I've already paid the compensation, and I don't plan to see Lucas anymore, she said. That's how things went down. I thought they might refuse to pay, so I was surprised when they didn't. I can't figure out why someone smart like her would fall for my husband. Anyway, he ended up having to pay her in bits. She was pretty well off, and my husband, trying to impress her, spent almost all his savings. I even heard he paid for a fancy trip out of his own pocket. Whether he blew through his savings or not doesn't really matter to me. I'm determined to make him pay back every cent, even if it takes a while. Luckily, we have a family home under my father-in-law's name, so finding a place to live won't be an issue. But with the payments for the loan we took out for elder care, along with the compensation we have to pay each month, it's going to be tough. Even if we deduct it from my husband's paycheck, he won't have much left over. And since our relatives all know about it, he can't exactly ask them for help. I hope he learns from his mistakes. I moved into an apartment my father-in-law gave me, which I get to keep for life. Life's comfortable now. I'm using the money I inherited from my father-in-law to study caregiving. Mira's helping me out too. I want to be a caregiver like her, someone who can really support families.